Okay. Welcome everyone. I'm Councillor Ian Holder, Cabinet Member for Community Safety, and I'll be chairing this meeting. A bit of housekeeping. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust's fire marshal regulations, anyone who signed in at the Guildhall reception desk should sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meeting. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble near Queen Victoria's statue in Guildhall Square. Everyone using a microphone will be recorded and broadcast on the website, including those making deputations, although there's no deputations today. Please remember to switch it off when you're finished so that the camera will move to the next person. Members of the press and public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. So just do some introductions. If we go around the room.
Good afternoon. I'm actually Move here. Councillor Hannah Brentford, Drayton and Farlington.
Hi, my name is Lisa Wills. I'm the Strategy and Partnership Manager for the Strategy Unit at the City Council.
Thank you, Chair. I'm James Harris. I'm the Senior Local Democracy Officer.
Hello everyone, Yinka Deniron, Labour Councillor for Charles Dickens Ward.
Councillor Emily Stradwick, Hilsey Ward.
Thank you. Declarations of members' interest. Does any member have anything to declare? No. So we'll move on to item 3 on the agenda, which is the Canberra Dock and Hot Walls Restorative Plan and Young People's Wellbeing Report.
Thanks,
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. I've made some notes so that I'm hoping to cover everything. You've had the report, obviously, and there's 4 appendices, in fact. But the purpose of the report is to update you, members, on what we've been doing in Old Portsmouth with the mediation service over the last, this is not going to work, is it? Over the last 18 months. It's for information at the moment, but what we're hoping is that we'll be able to bring back a more detailed evaluation report towards the end of the year, once we've got some more information in our hands. So, you know, everybody knows, for every year, for many years, kids have been jumping into the Canberra Dock and off the hot walls, taking risks and pushing boundaries. Some would say they're just being kids. And it's seen as a rite of passage in some places across the city. But other people in the community find big groups of kids with their high spirits and their risky behaviour intimidating and antisocial. And there has been some damage to boats in the past and other property down there. But people have said we can't arrest our way out of this situation. It's happening, it happens every year. So what we've tried to do with PMS is to try something different. We've tried to build relationships between residents, businesses, services, and the young people who come down there. The work we've commissioned is a piece of community development, essentially. It's not an enforcement plan. It's not like Operation Nautical, which is the way that we, as a city, manage the antisocial behaviour along the seafront, the whole of the seafront. It's a different piece of work, although there's links and we do link with them. We commissioned it first in 2022, and it was never about stopping young people from jumping in the water. It was always about minimising the numbers, moderating the behaviour, and increasing the resilience in the community so that it didn't upset so many people, and actually we thought we might be able to build some relationships in the end. It's commissioned as part of the work that we're delivering for the health and wellbeing strategy for the city over the next 10 or 20 years. Well, it's 2030, I think it finishes. But it's all about, I think in the report, I've sort of set out the categories this work falls under. So it's really all about community and it's about the next generation. It's about building relationships. In terms of the group itself, the terms of reference I think I've circulated talks about quite a few people who joined the group originally, but there's many more that have joined since then. So we've now got people from the International Port, from Whitelink, from the Cathedral, from the owners of the Fish Market, the Bridge Tavern. There's lots and lots of local commitment, lots of really good will locally. which is fantastic, and really looking forward to the next stage of this work. And in the report, I've talked about 2 whiteboard sessions, so we had a bit of a board blast for ideas, and some of those I think I've put into the next step, so we'll be taking those forward. And some of them are going to be around community events, so there's a community events subgroup that's just formed. We had an attempt at that this year, which the weather was so rubbish and it was also difficult to do, but we did lots of learning from it. So there's a group that are very keen to do some more next year. We're also looking at developing a water safety programme with our leisure colleagues to go into schools before the jumping season starts, so probably around about April, before the Easter holes. There's also going to be a group looking at alternative options. So one of the reasons I've included the report from 2019 is because that sets out really clearly what the issues are for the council in developing something like that, a floating alternative diving platform. And it's really clear from that report that this is not going to be something that we can do as a council. There's too many risks associated with it, too much ongoing cost. So we're hoping that this little subgroup that's going to be meeting probably at the beginning of November is going to be able to look at some different options, some alternative options, which is going to be really exciting. And there's already people thinking about, increased engagement. There's the Andrew Simpson Centre talking about sailing, and it's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to starting work with that group. So in terms of the relationships with the young people, this year was really about connection. So they call me the lady from the council now. So, and they know some of the residents, and the residents know them. I'm not sure that we know their names exactly, but actually they do recognise the residents now when they go down and talk to them. So that's the first stage. And we're hosting a restorative motivator, in fact, we're hosting a restorative conversation with some of the young people that the youth organisations have been engaged with over the summer, and some of the residents who have been working with us. So there's going to be a sort of a moderated conversation, hopefully within the next 3 or 4 weeks. Just to say, this work is long term. It doesn't come and go in one summer. It's not a quick fix. It takes time to build trust and relationships. And it's all about, the way that we work with people in the city is all about building positive relationships so that actually we can provide our own support rather than relying on council services all the time. PMS say they've got, they haven't started yet really. So they've been doing it 18 months, but they think they haven't really started. So, but they are committed to doing it long term. So that's as far as I can tell you at the moment. Have you got any questions for me?
The only sort of concern that I had is, sort of seeing some of the social media pages over the summer. It is quite clear that it's a spot that is used very frequently. And as you kind of touched on the word antisocial, I think for some people, the intimidation around area, not by all, because, there are groups of people that are just there to enjoy the sunshine and just to meet up. But there was a couple of situations where I saw this year where, people walking by had things thrown at them. And it's those sort of concerns around intimidation, very small, pockets of violence on only a small maybe amount of occasions, but that I think is something that is, going to need the ongoing work for residents and for people that just want to enjoy a nice Sunday afternoon in a beautiful area. And, that's something I'm sure that will be sort of factored in with the police as well. I know they have had a lot of time spent down there when it's exceptionally nice. So I think that's just something we just need to also consider.
No, absolutely, 100%. There are a very small number of young people who are really difficult to deal with, and when they cross the line and start to do things that are criminal, the police are there to support that. The difficulty is jumping in the camper dock in itself. It is not actually a crime, It's not allowed and it's not encouraged, but it's not against the law. And it's very difficult to monitor that. But they are, they've been part of the group all the way along. We know that they've put in, I think, 2 dispersal orders this summer, which had the desired effect. There was also stuff going on down by the pier, which was started right before we even started the work there. So it wasn't displaced from the hot walls. That was a choice of the young people, and that's where it's getting involved with the social media links. How we do that is, I think, through young people. And I think that's, if we can build some relationships with some key young leaders, hopefully we can have some influence within the group rather than having adults telling them what to do, that they'll do it themselves. They'll realise our residents like to play the grandma card. And that's hopefully that will, once we can do that on a more direct basis, I think that will have an impact. Hope.
Are there any other questions? Yinka?
Thank you, Lisa. I just have only like 1 or 2 questions. So the first one is community. Do you actually have community that you're working with, to engage the young ones? Do you have community? Can you identify some of the community that you're working with? You said community because we're talking about young people's well-being here. So I'm now asking, do you have like community? Do you have like community? Maybe community? Do you engage with community? And then what type of community engagement?
So are you talking about community engagement? Or is there a particular...
Yeah, to engage the young people, because we're talking about their well-being here. I just want to know if you actually engage them with community.
Yes, that's what we're hoping to do. During the summer, some of the residents and myself and some of the other the community wardens were down on the Camber talking to the kids as they were jumping in and discouraging them from jumping in and discouraging them from jumping on the boats.
Okay.
So we were down there doing that. The youth organisations that we worked with across the summer were, there were 4 of them, Urbond, our play and youth people, Pompey in the Community and Motivate, all work together. And on the appendix, so you can see a schedule of activity that was going on during the summer. So there was all those youth organisations working together, which was a first, because they've been doing work a lot anyway in the city, but they've never really coordinated it in the way that they have this year. And that was funded, that extended youth work was funded by the Police and Crime Commissioner. So we need to be thinking about how we do that next year, if that's something that the evaluation and the impact assessment shows that we need to be doing. Okay. But yes, the community engagement, a lot of community engagement and more with the restorative work, that the restorative conversation that Motivate will be hosting shortly.
Thank you. Then the least but not the last from me is the next generation. How we teach our children at home and in school. So do you involve the parents? Because when we're talking about teaching them at home, definitely we have to involve the parents. So how do you engage the parents?
It's really hard to identify individual families, individual kids, even though they're, physically recognisable to some of our enforcement colleagues. It's very difficult then to approach them and approach their parents when they've done nothing wrong. So what we're going to be trying to do is to do it through the schools. So one of the things that we've done over the summer is to do a survey with the kids, asking them where they go to school, and we'll have not just that, but other questions as well. So we'll have some of that information, and we'll be able to identify the majority of them, if lots of them go to one school, or whatever that information shows us, it will show us where we need to target the activity. But we're going to work with the RNLI, and I'm hoping with some of the residents to go into schools as part of that water safety programme. and we'll work with the schools there to see how we can engage with the parents. I just don't know at this stage, but yes, it's something that Keely Mitchell asked, who's our head of adolescents at the council. She came down to one of the meetings to talk to some of the residents about the young people that were hanging about and some of their backstories. So yes, and she said, what are we doing with the parents? So we've got to develop that, but it'll be through the schools that we'll do that.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
And the only other thing, so the other end, I know this is focusing on the Camber and Hot Walls, but down the other end, you mentioned the pier, but round the corner of Eastney, where the ferry is, there's
Yep.
another pier there,
Yep.
Which is where I sort of spend some sunny days cooling the dog off. But because of the pier and there's quite a strong tide going down
Yeah.
the harbour, that is a really sort of key area now where a lot of young people jump off the pier. And as the tide's going out, it is a gamble as to how deep it is. You know, the Camber is really deep because of
Yeah.
all the boats, but this area in particular, I just wonder if that's where that's included.
That's really part of Operation Nautical, Hannah. That's what the community wardens patrol that area, the harbour master patrols that area. We've got data coming in from the people who run the Hayling Island Ferry about what the problems were. There didn't seem to be a huge amount this year. There were more last year, but because we've got some data gathering going on and collecting information from people, we'll have a bit more of an idea towards the end of the year, comparison between last year and this year. So but yeah, it is another area that needs some attention, but it's not as prevalent as it is in at the Camber. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? No. Thanks for the report.
I could talk about this for England. Come on.
You can.
All right.
There's been some really good events and activities down there. I've been involved with quite a few, and it's been good seeing all the community engagement.
Yeah.
The police have been very good this year. They've
They
been
have.
really engaged, so Operation Nautical and the restorative groups. So I'm really pleased to this go forward.
Good. Thank you very much. I'll be really excited to bring you back another report towards the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.